Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about how education is managed and financed across the UK, focusing on two different systems, higher education and school education. But before diving into the matter, it is important to explain what higher education means in this context. Higher education refers both to the institutions, primarily universities, and the levels of study or qualifications offered. In this system, institutional autonomy and academic freedom are deeply entrenched because universities operate like standalone firms. They are led by strategic executives and respond to market dynamics, which make them compete for students or funding. Although they are legally classified as private, universities still rely on government funding and regulation. Therefore, it can be said that their position in society is similar to public institutions like the BBC, which is formally independent, but shaped by public policy and public trust. While I was doing research on this topic in particular, I remember reading a piece of information that supports this idea of public trust. It said that, according to The Guardian, the British newspaper, universities are among the most trusted institutions in the country, second only to the NHS. Since we're dealing with economics here, I thought it would be interesting to get a general idea of what the UK's role in higher education is compared to other countries. And I found these two statistics provided by the OECD. First of all, the United Kingdom boasts the second highest number of world top 50 research universities after the US. And secondly, the country attracts the second largest number of international students. Funding policies vary among the four nations of the UK. In England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, tuition fees are charged and covered through student loans, modeling the sector as a student-based market. In contrast, Scottish universities do not charge tuition for Scottish students. Before moving forward to the next system, we're going to talk about the government's role in higher education. Through mechanisms such as the Research Excellence Framework, the government influences and imposes tuition fee ceilings for UK and EU students, limiting institutional pricing autonomy. So, despite their autonomy, UK universities are not entirely outside the state's influence, unlike many US institutions. Now I'm going to talk about school education in the UK, which is characterized by a mixture of state-funded and private models, with England notably pursuing hybrid public-private policies. Since the early 2000s, the UK government has introduced a variety of semi-autonomous schools with different degrees of independence from local authorities. Consequently, we're going to compare these different types of schools and see what distinguishes one from another. First, there are academies, which are institutions directly funded by the central government and administered by independent governing bodies responsible for staff management, salaries, and school policies. These academies were the replacement of underperforming secondary schools in the 2000s, and with the Academies Act in 2010, the concept expanded to include converted academies, which are successful schools that are granted greater autonomy, and free schools, newly funded institutions inspired by Swedish and American models. Free schools are set up by charities, faith groups, or parent collectives. And while they are fully government funded, they enjoy considerable autonomy regarding curriculum and management. So a key feature of these schools is their adherence to the school admissions code, ensuring standardized admission practices. Although they function similarly to independent schools, they are non-profit and publicly funded. Next, there are faith academies that develop from voluntary aided or controlled schools. These academies retain religious affiliations but are incorporated into the broader academy model. Other variations include City Academy Acts, targeting educational improvement in disadvantaged urban areas, often supported by external organizations such as businesses or universities. Finally, to end this section of the video, I wanted to again include statistics provided by the OECD that says that as of 2017, 1/3 of publicly funded private schools in England were academies, majorly secondary schools. Also, in 2018, 54.6% of UK 15-year-olds were enrolled in public-private hybrid schools, showing how much this academies model has shifted the way students receive education in the UK. For the final part of the video, I wanted to share this chart that I found on the internet that I think clearly portrays this variety of schools that I had mentioned before, in which we can find not only academies or faith schools, but other types such as special needs schools or community schools, which all have their particular characteristics. And last but not least, in opposition to the vast array of state-funded schools, fee-paying schools can be classified into two major groups: preparatory and senior schools, which are independent institutions that charge tuition, and private independent schools, which are registered with the government and are not required to follow the national curriculum.